The UN has warned that the Middle East is on the brink of imminent catastrophe amid fears of an all-out war as Israel and the Iran-backed group Hezbollah in Lebanon carry out large cross-border strikes.
مثل ما هي لايف.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production. The views on this channel are those of Omega Watchman Media Group LLC, and not those of Google, YouTube, or their advertising affiliates. Due to the mature nature of this content, language, and depth, viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Whoa! We are... Whoa!
Okay.
That's the question. What was it? What did people see?
An asteroid hurtling towards the Earth is something real-life scientists are preparing for at NASA.
Is the Earth getting a second moon?
American is to Americans what cyclones are to Australians, isn't it? But this one is as big as Florida.
Now let's turn our attention to China. This morning, Typhoon Bebinca made a landfall in Shanghai. This is the strongest storm to hit China's financial capital in more than 7 decades.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production.
He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter therein too.
Oh my God.
maneno.
אבל זה לא כאן.
مثل ما هي لايف.
Where?
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production.
And great signs shall there be from heaven.
There's a strange noise coming through the speaker, and I didn't know if you could connect into the Starliner and let me keep mic and let you hear. I don't know what's making it, but I don't know if it's something that maybe is connected between here and there, making that happen. But anyway, can you do that?
We can configure that, Butch. Give us a minute and I'll call you back when it's ready.
Okay.
All right, Butch, that one came through. It was kind of like a pulsing noise, almost like a sonar ping.
150 people reported feeling a small earthquake in Albuquerque, but imagine if that shaking continued. For days, scientists around the world recorded the ground shaking without knowing the cause. Corey Howard found the answer came with help from a lab right here in Albuquerque.
Near Kirkland Air Force Base, at the base of the Sandias, you'll find the United States Geological Survey Lab that monitors the world. Their instruments measured a vibration that lasted for 9 days.
We had colleagues in Europe that noticed a mysterious long period signal. So the Earth is going up and down about once every 100 seconds or so, and only at that frequency.
Dr. Robert Anthony and his colleagues also picked up the signal.
So usually when you have earthquakes, you get a broad range of frequencies. This was quite unusual.
Triggered a massive tsunami with an initial wave more than 650 feet tall.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Kluger, editor-at-large and space writer for Time magazine. And this week, the coolest space story comes not from my computer, but from that of my colleague who has written a piece about Earth's newest moon. And we are getting a second moon. For 4.5 billion years, Earth got by on the one moon that we know. But from September 29th to November 25th, we're going to have a second moon now.
And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come.
A rare lunar trifecta in the sky tonight, a super harvest blood moon. This year's harvest moon is also a supermoon and a blood moon, which will occur during tonight's partial eclipse. It peaks at about 10:44 Eastern.
We've had a lot of cool astronomical events already so far in 2024. The solar eclipse this past spring. We've had some good northern lights events as well. And then the meteor shower, the Perseids, back in August. We've got another one for you coming up here in September, a partial lunar eclipse. Now,
September's sky is full of lunar surprises, including a supermoon and a rare partial lunar eclipse happening at the same time.
An asteroid hurtling towards the Earth is something real-life scientists are preparing for at NASA. They're refining the plan because in a few short years, a space rock could come quite close.
Apophis is the closest thing we know about to an asteroid that could really give us a bad day. This thing would wipe out a city, no problem. I really believe that astronauts or the space scientists are figuring this stuff out.
The countdown has begun, with NASA scientists now paying serious attention to a possible asteroid impact on Earth. As we already know that the asteroid Apophis will pass very close to the Earth in the next few years, and astronomers around the world are waiting to capture this rare astronomical event. But recently, scientists have expressed a concern. Recently, NASA has revealed that they are conducting an exercise to prepare for upcoming devastating asteroid impact. They also warn that recent calculations have shown that an asteroid is heading towards Earth, and there is a 72% chance that it will hit the Earth.
NASA is making plans to study an asteroid that's set to pass so close to Earth that this hasn't happened since the dawn of recorded history. It's called the God of Chaos asteroid.
A very rare sight in the skies above the Philippines, a small asteroid put on a short but spectacular show. The 1-meter space rock was on a collision course with Earth.
Ating sa atmosphere, tendency niyan ay mag-explode.
Pumasok na kaninang hating gabi sa atmosphere ng mundo ang asteroid 2024 RW1 at bumagsak ito sa northern portion ng Luzon. Sa kuha ni Joel Espita mula sa Tuguegarao, Cagayan, dakong 12:40 AM, kita sa video ang mabilis na pagbagsak ng asteroid na nagliwanag sa kalangitan na parang bolang nagbabaga. Tila nagkulay blue at green ang kalangitan hanggang sa maging orange at muling nagdilim sa loob lamang ng 5 segundo. Ayon kay Mario Raimundo, ang chief ng Astronomical Publication and Planetarium Unit ng Pag-asa, maaaring hindi na makita ang piraso ng mga asteroid.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group
Other
production.
headlines start in the Middle East, where Israel says it struck Hezbollah's central headquarters in Beirut. Massive blasts shook the city just before sunset.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring.
The massive hurricane that slammed into Florida, overwhelming first responders. Rescues along the East Coast from Florida to South Carolina. In Tennessee, a hospital sending out an SOS when it became surrounded by water. Patients stranded, forced onto the roof, and airlifted out. Helene made landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast, but the impact stretching 1,000 miles across 15 states, killing dozens. Overnight, desperate residents posting previews of what daylight would bring.
Emergency managers in Florida's Taylor County are telling people choosing to stay, and there are people choosing to stay, to write their name and date of birth on a leg to help identify their bodies. Storm warnings are now in effect as far north as Charlotte, North Carolina. We've got CNN correspondents all along the places now in harm.
Begin with the breaking news. Helene is still wreaking havoc across the southeastern U.S. At least 25 people are dead across 4 different states after Helene roared ashore in Florida overnight.
Anybody in your house?
Now let's turn our attention to China. This morning, Typhoon Bebinca made a landfall in Shanghai. This is the strongest storm to hit China's financial capital in more than 7 decades. It comes just as the country is recovering from another typhoon, Typhoon Yagi, which left a trail of destruction as it passed through China earlier this month. Yagi is Asia's most powerful storm this year. Apart from China, it has devastated Vietnam, Laos, and the Philippines. And now it is wreaking havoc in Myanmar. But the death toll has crossed 100, by the way, and storms, in fact, are not limited to Asia. Storm Boris is battering Central and Eastern Europe. At least 8 people have died. Across the world, storms are becoming stronger and more frequent. Our next story tells you why.
Trees toppled. Vehicles and homes battered. Streets flooded. This is Shanghai, the financial hub of China, which has come to a standstill. This morning, Typhoon Bebinca made landfall in Shanghai. Bebinca is the strongest storm to hit the city in 75 years. More than 400,000 residents have been evacuated. Hundreds of flights have been cancelled. Train services are shut. Highways are closed. But Shanghai's 25 million residents are not the only victims of Bebinca. The typhoon has already passed through Japan and the Philippines, where 6 people were killed. and now the typhoon is wreaking havoc in China, as the country is still recovering from another storm, Typhoon Yagi, the most powerful storm in Asia this year. Yagi passed through China this month. It killed at least 4 people and injured at least 95 others. Apart from China, Yagi has swept through Vietnam, Laos, and the Philippines, where it proved devastating. Yagi caused severe flooding and in total killed at least 287 people. That is, until now. The storm has reached Myanmar. The death toll has risen by 113. At least 320,000 people have been displaced. 64 people are missing. Additionally, 66,000 houses and 375 schools have been destroyed. Several kilometers of roads have been washed away. Now, countries are pouring in aid.
Now to North Korea. Kim Jong-un continues to keep the Korean peninsula on the edge. He has ramped up missile and weapons testing. Kim wants to keep the threat of a nuclear conflict alive. And back home, he's been cracking down on his officials. Last month, devastating floods killed thousands of people in North Korea. They were caused by record-breaking rainfall and possibly triggered by climate change. But Kim Jong-un is blaming his officials for these floods. In fact, he's held 30 of them responsible for the disaster, and he executed all of them. Our next report tells you more.
It's a story straight out of The Dictator. In July, North Korea was hit by massive floods on its western borders. Record-breaking rainfall caused widespread devastation. Large swaths of farmlands, entire roads, railway lines, and over 4,000 homes were submerged, and thousands were killed. Kim Jong-un had personally inspected the flooded regions. And then the North Korean dictator held 30 officials responsible for the floods. A report from the South Korean media claims they were all executed last month.
This is an Omega WATCHMAN Media Group production.
Tonight, southern Japan recovering from a historic and deadly typhoon. The storm peaking at the equivalent of a Category 4 hurricane, packing winds over 150 miles per hour as it barreled toward the coast, leaving at least 4 dead and dozens more injured. Typhoon Shanshan, now the most powerful storm to hit the island nation in decades.
Parts of southern China have taken a battering. Typhoon Yagi barreled across the coast late Friday, making landfall on the holiday island of Hainan in the city of Wencheng. It packed winds of up to 145 miles an hour, the most powerful storm to pound China in a decade.
Yagi, one of the most powerful storms in recent years, made its way into southern China on Friday, triggering massive evacuations, shutting down schools and businesses, and severely disrupting travel.
Super Typhoon Yagi, Asia's strongest storm this year, made landfall on the coast of China's Hainan province on Friday, bringing gusty winds and heavy rain that forced schools to close for a second day and canceled flights in the South China Sea.
This is an Omega WATCHMAN Media Group
And ye shall
production.
hear of wars, and rumours of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet.
This is the moment Israeli fighter jets bomb Beirut. Deafening explosions as huge plumes of smoke engulf the skies above. Israel's military immediately claimed responsibility, saying it had targeted Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah. Amid unconfirmed reports, the group's figurehead and leader may have been at the site. A potentially catastrophic blow to the U.S.-designated terrorist organization, which has already seen a number of its military commanders targeted in Israeli assassinations over the past week. As first responders pick their way through mounds of smoking rubble in its southern Beirut stronghold, entire buildings in this once quiet residential street have been pulverized. But at one point, first responders recovered a little girl, her tiny, dust-covered body held tight as she was rushed to a nearby ambulance, where she appeared conscious with only a few cuts. Barely an hour before the strikes, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu received a mix of boos and applause as he entered the UN General Assembly hall.
This is an Omega Watchman Media Group production.